For decades, millions of television viewers believed they knew everything about the cast of Married with Children. On screen, the Bundy family thrived on sarcasm, outrageous humor, and nonstop arguments. Off-screen, however, a very different story was unfolding. One built on loyalty, kindness, and a friendship that has quietly endured for nearly 40 years. Recently, Christina Applegate has opened up about the relationship she shared with the man who played her television father, Ed O'Neill. While fans always assumed the two got along well, very few realized just how important he became during the most formative years of her life. Their story isn't about Hollywood gossip or shocking scandals. Instead, it's about a genuine bond that grew stronger through success, controversy, personal struggles, and life's unexpected challenges. What Christina has finally begun sharing paints a picture of a relationship that was far more meaningful than anyone outside the cast ever imagined. When Married with Children premiered in 1987, Christina Applegate was only 15 years old. Although she had already worked as a child actress, nothing could have prepared her for what awaited her on one of television's most controversial sitcoms. The show immediately stood apart from everything else on television. Its jokes pushed boundaries. Its characters ignored social conventions. Its stories challenged traditional family sitcom formulas. While audiences laughed every week, few stopped to think about what it must have been like for a teenage actress to grow up surrounded by adult humor, constant media attention, and the pressures of becoming famous almost overnight. Christina suddenly found herself portraying Kelly Bundy, a character whose beauty often became the center of many jokes. As the show's popularity exploded, so did the attention focused on a young actress. For someone still learning who she was, the experience could easily have become overwhelming. Fortunately, someone on set quietly made it his personal mission to ensure that never happened. That person was Ed O'Neill. Ed O'Neill was already in his 40s when filming began. Unlike many younger performers, he had already experienced both success and disappointment throughout his acting career. He understood how unpredictable Hollywood could be. More importantly, he understood how dangerous fame could become for young actors. Instead of simply arriving, filming his scenes, and going home, Ed naturally stepped into a protective role. Nobody asked him to do it. It wasn't written into his contract. He simply recognized that Christina needed someone experienced to watch over her. Over time, that responsibility became second nature. Whenever conversations drifted into subjects that weren't appropriate for a teenager, Ed quietly redirected them. If situations became uncomfortable, he stepped in without making a scene. He wanted Christina to feel safe, respected, and supported despite the adult themes surrounding the show. Years later, Christina would admit that those simple acts of kindness shaped her far more than people realized. Relationships like theirs aren't created overnight. They develop through thousands of ordinary moments. Between rehearsals, Ed would often check to see how Christina was doing. If she seemed nervous before filming a difficult scene, he'd offer encouragement. If she struggled with dialogue, he'd patiently help her work through it. Crew members gradually noticed the unique dynamic developing between them. Although they played father and daughter on screen, that connection slowly became authentic behind the scenes. Christina wasn't simply working alongside a veteran actor. She was learning from someone who genuinely cared about her future. As the years passed, she became increasingly comfortable seeking his advice. Whether the conversation involved acting, fame, or simply growing up, Ed always made time to listen. That consistency created a level of trust rarely found in Hollywood. Most teenagers experience high school while surrounded by classmates. Christina experienced those years on a television set. From age 15 until her mid-20s, Married with Children became her second home. She celebrated birthdays there. She watched friendships develop. She matured in front of millions of viewers. Growing up under those circumstances wasn't always easy. Every season brought greater fame. Magazine covers, interviews, public appearances, and constant attention became normal parts of everyday life. While fans admired the glamorous side of celebrity, very few understood the emotional challenges that came with it. Ed recognized those pressures immediately. Rather than allowing Christina to face them alone, he became a steady presence throughout her journey. His advice wasn't dramatic. It was practical. Stay focused. Remain professional. Don't let success define who you are. Those lessons stayed with Christina long after filming ended. Many experienced actors enjoy mentoring younger performers. Few remain committed to that responsibility for more than a decade. Ed did. He never demanded recognition. He never publicly spoke about protecting Christina. Instead, he quietly led by example. He treated everyone on set with respect. He arrived prepared. He remained patient during long shooting days. His professionalism became something Christina naturally absorbed simply by watching him work. Instead of teaching through lectures, he taught through actions. That influence extended beyond acting. He demonstrated how to navigate an industry where fame often changes people. Christina later acknowledged that watching Ed handle success with humility left a lasting impression on her own career. By 1989, Married with Children had become one of television's biggest talking points. Not everyone appreciated its bold sense of humor. One episode sparked intense criticism from viewers who believed the show had crossed the line. Soon, an organized campaign encouraged advertisers to withdraw their support. Major companies began pulling commercials. News outlets covered the growing controversy. Inside the television network, executives reportedly worried about the show's future. Rumors spread that cancellation was becoming a real possibility. For the adult cast members, the uncertainty was stressful. For 17-year-old Christina, it was terrifying. This wasn't simply another acting job. It had become her entire world. Losing it so suddenly felt almost unimaginable. While panic spread through the production, Ed remained remarkably calm. Instead of focusing on worst-case scenarios, he gathered the younger cast members and reminded them of something important. No matter what happened, they had created something meaningful. Television shows come and go. Ratings rise and fall. But the work they had accomplished together couldn't be erased. Those conversations became a source of comfort for Christina. Rather than feeding the anxiety surrounding the boycott, Ed encouraged everyone to remain focused on what they could control. He also defended the show publicly. During interviews, he emphasized that the young actors deserve support rather than criticism. He refused to let them become targets simply because the series had generated controversy. His willingness to stand beside his television family spoke volumes about his character. Ironically, the boycott produced the exact opposite effect its organizers intended. People who had never watched the sitcom suddenly became curious. What was so shocking about this show? Why was everyone talking about it? Millions tuned in to find out. Instead of disappearing, Married with Children became even more popular. Its ratings climbed dramatically. The controversy transformed into free publicity. Looking back, Christina has admitted that what she remembers most isn't the increase in viewers. She remembers watching Ed stay composed while everyone else worried. That experience taught her one of life's most valuable lessons. Real leadership isn't about speaking the loudest. It's about remaining steady when everyone else is losing confidence. That lesson would stay with her for decades and prove even more meaningful during some of the hardest moments of her life. After 11 successful seasons, Married with Children came to an unexpected end. There wasn't a grand farewell. There wasn't a final episode designed to give fans closure. There wasn't even a proper goodbye for the cast members who had spent more than a decade working together. One day they were filming new episodes. The next, production had simply stopped. For Christina Applegate, the experience was surprisingly emotional. The cast had become much more than co-workers. They had spent birthdays together, celebrated milestones, shared personal victories, and supported each other through difficult moments. The television set had become a second home. Then, almost overnight, that home disappeared. The familiar routines ended. The stages were dismantled. Everyone suddenly moved on to different projects. Although this happens regularly in Hollywood, it never becomes easy for the people living through it. For Christina, saying goodbye felt like losing part of her everyday life. Fortunately, the ending of the show didn't mean the ending of their friendship. Unlike many television casts that gradually drift apart Christina and Ed remained close. They spoke regularly. They checked in on each other's lives. Whenever they had the chance, they met for lunch or dinner to catch up. Ed never stopped offering advice whenever Christina needed it. He didn't treat her like a former co-worker. He continued treating her like family. That simple consistency meant more than most people realized. As Christina continued building her career, she always knew someone was quietly cheering for her from the sidelines. Hollywood friendships often disappear once the cameras stop rolling. Their relationship proved to be one of the rare exceptions. Following the success of Married, with Children, Christina refused to be remembered only as Kelly Bundy. She challenged herself with different kinds of roles. She appeared in successful comedy films. She starred in acclaimed television series. Critics began praising not only her comedic timing, but also her dramatic abilities. Every new project demonstrated another side of her talent. Audiences who had watched her grow up realized she was becoming one of Hollywood's most versatile performers. Awards and nominations soon followed. Each achievement represented years of hard work and determination. Behind the scenes, Ed watched her progress with enormous pride. He never acted as though her accomplishments reflected his own. Instead, he celebrated them exactly as a proud parent might celebrate the success of a child. Seeing Christina flourish professionally brought him genuine happiness. Ed O'Neill's career also entered an exciting new chapter. Years after leaving the role of Al Bundy, he introduced himself to a whole new generation of viewers through another hit sitcom. Once again, audiences embraced his unique sense of humor. His performances earned praise from critics and fans alike. Despite reaching new levels of fame, Ed rarely forgot where one of the most meaningful chapters of his career had begun. Whenever interviews turned toward his past, he often spoke warmly about Married, with Children. He especially enjoyed discussing Christina's growth. Watching her transform from a shy teenager into an accomplished actress remained one of his favorite memories. Success never changed the respect they had for one another. If anything, time only strengthened it. As the years passed, fans repeatedly asked the same question. Would the Bundy family ever reunite? Every few years, rumors surfaced. Television executives expressed interest. Cast members were asked about the possibility during interviews. Social media filled with hopeful speculation. Everyone seemed eager to see the famous sitcom return. Yet every discussion eventually reached the same obstacle. Finding the right time and the right reason proved far more difficult than anyone expected. Still, none of the cast members completely ruled out the idea. The possibility remained alive. It simply needed the right circumstances. No one realized those circumstances would soon change in a heartbreaking way. In August 2021, Christina shared deeply personal news with the world. She revealed that she had been diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, commonly known as MS. The announcement shocked fans across the globe. Many had no idea she had been facing serious health challenges while continuing to work. The diagnosis arrived while she was filming the final season of Dead to Me. Instead of stepping away immediately, Christina pushed forward to complete the project despite the growing physical difficulties. MS affects the body's central nervous system. It can interfere with balance, movement, vision, and many everyday activities. Symptoms vary from person to person, making each experience unique. For Christina, life changed almost overnight. Simple tasks became more difficult. Walking required assistance. Energy levels fluctuated. Everyday routines suddenly demanded far greater effort than before. Yet through it all, she refused to hide from the public. Instead, she chose honesty. She openly discussed both the physical and emotional impact of living with the illness. As soon as Ed learned about Christina's diagnosis, he reached out. He didn't offer empty words or brief messages. He wanted her to know she wasn't facing this challenge alone. The same man who had protected her as a teenager immediately returned to that familiar role decades later. His concern wasn't motivated by publicity. There were no cameras documenting those conversations. No interviews revealed every detail. It was simply one friend supporting another during an incredibly difficult chapter. The rest of the cast also surrounded Christina with encouragement. Messages of love poured in. Old friendships quickly became visible again. But according to Christina, Ed's support carried a unique emotional weight. He had been beside her from the very beginning. Knowing he remained there after all these years reminded her that some relationships truly never fade. As Christina adjusted to her new reality, one thing became absolutely clear. The man who had once played her television father was still looking out for her, just as he had when she was only 15 years old.